What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Maximus Keys back with a brand new episode of your favorite show, Genre Evolution. On this episode of Genre Evolution, we're going to be speaking on the history of America's influence on Jamaican music and how Jamaican music has constantly coexisted with different genres of music as well throughout the years. But before we get into that, I need everyone to like, subscribe, and please share this video with everybody that you know. America has often been the blueprint for different genres of music. Examples would be genres such as rock, jazz, and even electric blues that would sweep the nation. Jamaica is one of the many places that would be inspired by the American energy as well. But how so? Let's talk about it. One of the many genres of music that will be popular in Jamaican culture will be a genre by the name of ska. Ska is a music genre that will be created throughout the late 50s, and it also pre-existed in Jamaica before the styles rocksteady and reggae. Sound systems started to be more available, and dances were also a very common part of Jamaican working class communities. There would even be people selling drinks and foods to basically make some money in between that too. And it would be these parties where disc jockeys would present playing American records at the dances. The idea of it all was getting songs from overseas that nobody has ever heard of before that the younger crowd would definitely love. And while the Jamaican DJs were DJing, they would do a thing called toasting, which is something very prominent amongst Jamaican culture. In fact, the first Jamaican DJ named Count Machuki was actually the first to ever do the Jamaican toasting back in the late 50s. And he would get the idea to do the toasting from listening to Black American radio stations where they would do a little thing called Jive Talk. And Jive Talk would also be one of the many fuels that would help develop the concept of rapping. And there were a lot of young Jamaican artists who actually were inspired by the R&B sound in America that a lot of black people would contribute into the airwaves. And the artists that would inspire the Jamaicans will be artists such as The Impressions, The Temptations, Dionne Warwick, and even the Supremes. They would even listen to some New Orleans radio stations where they would hear rhythm and blues and New Orleans jazz. They would take the styles of Caribbean calypso and mento and combine it with the American style of R&B and soul in order to give a brand new oomph into the music, which would later on be called ska. In Jamaica, the professional recording industry started to create an official lane for new emerging artists. The studios would even let young new local artists use the studio to record. And a lot of the songs that these bands would have would be based around the R&B and soul sound from America. And a lot of these groups that were inspired by American artists would even copy the harmonizations in order to give a better feel into the music as well. Now, as mentioned before, the R&B sound would of course influence the ska movement, but it would also have elements of mento. The drums would keep a 4/4 timing, with the guitars and pianos used to create emphasis on the offbeat and along with the brass section and steady bass line. Ska artists that were inspired by the R&B movement would be artists like the Pioneers, Prince Buster, Desmond Decker and the Aces, and even Bob Marley and the Wailers. Very soon, the genre of ska would eventually coexist with pop culture overseas. A record in particular that is regarded as the first ska record to ever achieve international success would be My Boy Lollipop, released in 1964, sang by Millie Small. And the song My Boy Lollipop was actually a cover originally by an artist named Barbie Gay. That version was actually from 1956, and covers at the time became somewhat more common. An example of that would be a song by Prince Buster called Sharing You. That song would originally be by an American artist named Mitty Collier. Another example would be a band called The Techniques with a song called Queen Majesty. Queen Majesty would actually be a cover originally by The Impressions on a song called Minstrel and Queen. These were all the same songs, just with different time signatures that was added into this brand new music genre of ska. And partially thanks to ska, rocksteady will become a brand new genre that would emerge from the ashes. Ska was more fast-paced, but rocksteady would decide to slow it down a little bit. And also by this time of the emergence of rocksteady, the streets of Kingston, Jamaica ended up becoming more reckless, partially due to the fact that there were young gang members terrorizing local people, and they will be referred as the Rude Boys. Rocksteady would end up becoming more slow-paced, and it was also pretty popular partially due to the fact that it was easier to dance to. And the bass lines of the music became more relaxed and was given more emphasis. Some artists would even say that they felt that ska was too fast, so rocksteady gave a more gentle approach. And producers and musicians who helped create the rocksteady sound in ska were well versed and educated on jazz music, R&B and soul, and even African music. Groups like the Clarendonians, the Jamaicans, and even the Uniques would be the examples of groups that would dibble-dabble with the Rocksteady sound. But the Rocksteady sound will only last about 2 years. Despite Rocksteady not lasting for more than 2 years, it was still able to make an impact in music history. Ska and Rocksteady would actually be the blueprint for reggae music that will come in the future. Nanny Goat by Larry and Alvin and the Belltones' No More Heartaches will be examples of reggae songs that would be early on in the genre. Johnny Nash's 1968 hit Hold Me Tight was credited with first putting reggae in the American listeners' charts, and already in the late 60s and early 70s bracket, you had different artists of different genres who would be influenced by the new emergent sounds of reggae. Led Zeppelin has shown their appreciation for reggae and ska music on a song called Dire Maker. The record Obla Di Obla Da by the Beatles had elements of reggae within the music as well. And already by the late 70s and early 80s, the sounds of ska and reggae would even influence different punk bands in the industry. Artists like The Clash, The Police, and even the Bad Brains will be inspired by the movement of reggae. Shoot, back in the early 80s, they would put some reggae songs in between their hardcore set. So they would turn from this to this. Then you just had The Clash and The Police, who basically played it a very different way. But don't worry, rock wasn't the only genre where reggae started to coexist. In fact, reggae music ended up coexisting with hip-hop culture not too long after, especially throughout the late 80s and early 90s. On Boogie Down Productions' The Bridge Is Over, KRS-One is using a Jamaican rhythm, which can be heard on another song from 1968 by the Ethiopians called Train to Scaville. And Boogie Down Productions basically took the melody of the beat from Train to Scaville to make The Bridge Is Over. Other songs like Do For Self by Apache, Wickedest Man Alive by Naughty by Nature, and Freaks by Lil Vicious would use elements of the reggae style, which are prime examples of two different cultures coexisting with each other in such a wide range way, which has always gone on in the 2000s and up to this day as well. Jamaican / reggae artists like Sean Paul, Sean Kingston, and even Wayne Wonder will be examples of coexistence between American culture and Caribbean culture. And when you end up looking deeper into the origins, you start to realize how deep into the roots it really gets. And it's because of these origins, the art form will still live on. Thank you so much for watching this video. I am so glad that you guys made it to the end of this video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, send this video to everybody that you know, and please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. Let's keep the conversation going on music history, and tell me in the comments who your favorite Jamaican music artist is. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.